Houston, before we get started with the episode, we want to say shout out to them Rockets, man. We need them Rockets to do something in the playoffs this year. Game 2 is going on while we do this episode. I want to start the episode off by saying that my sister is doing a prom giveaway. So to the parents out there whose kids have not been to the prom yet, my sister is doing a prom giveaway. And for more details, get with me and I'll get with her. Chef.
Hello.
Before we start this episode off, do you have anything you want to say?
Just hello, Houston. Thank you for embracing me and allowing me to bring a taste of New Orleans to your city.
Okay. Without further ado, let's get into the show, man.
Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." Dear John, the iconic legend Quincy Jones said, "To know where you came from makes it easier for you to get where you're going." Sean Diddy Combs said, "Everyone has challenges and lessons to learn. We wouldn't be who we are without them." If 2018 and the last 6 years taught you something, it's that anything is attainable with the right focus and determination. Continue to build. Continue to promote your vision. Continue to inspire creativity and make more creatives. In closing, Nas said, "No idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. It's never what you do, but how it's done. The first chapter of your vision's movements is done. However, you're still a visionary. Peace and blessings. John Ross."
Yo, it feel like 95, Sachi on my body, Biggie, Jigga, Puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby, and I'm wildin' in my body.
Houston, Texas, welcome back to episode number 12 of the What's Next podcast, a production of Still Visionary Inc. My name is John Ross Dyke, and before we get started with the episode, I want to introduce our social media handles so we don't disrupt the flow of the conversation later on.
Okay.
You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at John Ross Dyke and still_visionary. My website is stillvisionary.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and subscribe and like my fan page. Chef.
I'm at Celebrity Chef Nureka's Bowls on Instagram, Nureka Henderson Facebook. The website is www.brunchtourwithnureka.com.
So, first of all, I want to start off by saying this publicly on my platform that I don't say this to too many women, but I got genuine love for you. And the reason why I say that, Houston, Texas, let me take you back to circa March 23rd, 2019. I know that date better than I know my own birthday because that's the birthday of my wife. And I went on episode 7 and I said that sometimes as a creative, you get to the point where you're so focused on that journey that you ignore your significant other on that journey, right? So I tried to piece together some trash presentation for my wife's birthday.
Yes,
and she said, "Yes, you did." And needless to say, it wasn't right. So let me fast forward a little bit. My homegirl Takara Taylor referred me to you, and my frat brother Edric Neal fronted me the money to be able to pay for your expertise. But you came through for me in such a short notice, man, and it just kind of it brought me out the doghouse, if I can be honest. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about you, man. Let's start from the beginning with you. What is it that you do? And bring us up to April the 30th, 2019.
Well, I am a culinary expert.
Okay.
I specialize in Creole, Cajun, and soul food. I'm a New Orleanian.
Okay.
So I basically can prepare anything that would put you in the mind of New Orleans cuisine.
Mm-hmm.
I also do, as you were speaking of, I specialize in romantic evenings for couples.
Okay.
I do catering. I do personal chef services. I've owned 3 restaurants since Katrina.
Okay.
And in transition and coming out of a marriage, I am going to be opening my next one soon.
Okay. What is it about New Orleans food that people in Texas love? What is it about the way y'all cook that we love?
I mean, it's unique.
Okay.
Our food has a spirit that's its
Okay.
own.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to translate it into words.
Yeah.
But I would say that our food is comforting. It's definitely soul food, and it's closely linked to French cuisine.
Okay.
So it's just awesome.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You said you're from New Orleans. What part of New Orleans are you from?
I grew up in the 9th Ward on Desire and Claiborne.
Okay. And 9th Ward, I'm not from New Orleans. I've only been a few times. You got to kind of paint the picture
So
as to
9th
where
Ward
that
is
is.
it's about maybe 10 minutes from the CBD area, the French Quarter area, because
Okay.
I didn't live in the lower 9th Ward. I lived in what they refer to as the upper 9th Ward.
Okay.
So Desire and Claiborne. Desire in between Claiborne and Robertson is where I live.
Okay.
In a shotgun house. I grew up in a shotgun house.
Yeah.
I attended McDowell 35, a college preparatory high school.
Okay.
And I married young, so I moved to the Metairie area
Okay.
rather quickly.
Okay. So, listen, what I like to do on the podcast is I like to bring creatives out, and bringing these creatives out, I like to see where our journeys parallel. You came to my spot. You prepared a dish, and it seemed like it was out of the whim. We had a conversation prior, and you just prepared this meal. And when I was watching you prepare this meal, I was like, damn, how is it that you're doing what you're doing? So take us through the process that you take into creating whatever you made right here. What Houston, Texas, this right here, I don't know if you can see it, but this right here is what? What is this
It's
that you...
gourmet deviled eggs.
Okay.
And they're topped with oysters, fried oysters. There's also a signature sauce on top that is a hot sauce.
Hot sauce.
That I make.
So can I have one?
Yes.
Okay. So while you talk to us about how you do what you do, I'm gonna have a couple of these eggs if you don't mind.
Awesome.
If you don't mind, go ahead.
Yes. So basically, we're going to take your event, for instance.
Okay.
So I got the phone call on a Saturday, and I actually had plans. But yeah, I had plans. But I had got a call from Takara, who is my client, my friend, and my esthetician. And she was adamant about, you really needed me, and I really needed to squeeze you in, and blah, blah, blah. So I called you. And I quoted you my price. I said, it's not going to come cheap. I mean, this is last minute. And besides, I mean, my services just aren't cheap. I can't afford to do it. I have to live.
Let me interrupt you right there, because when you told me that price, man, I had looked at all my accounts.
Really?
Looked at all. I was like, God. I had, because this is the thing.
And that was a cheap price, because I gave you a discount based on her.
No doubt, because Takara is my people.
Yeah.
I've been knowing Takara for my whole professional career as an actor, right? And so at first I was like, nah, Takara, I don't know if it's gonna work. And she was like, trust me, I got it. Just follow my lead and do it. And so I hit you up, and then so you hit me the price. But fast forward that, go ahead on what you were saying.
So yeah, I gave him the price, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna cash app you." So I don't think anything is official until I get the cash.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
So I'm like, I hear you, but I hadn't got the cash app. So maybe 20, 30 minutes later, ding ding, I get the cash app. So I'm like,
No doubt.
He's serious. I'm like, okay, now I can start planning. So what we're gonna do is, because I'm sure you don't mind me saying, because he's already expressed to you guys that I kind of got him out the doghouse. So I'll just go into a little bit more detail.
Yeah, talk that talk, man. Let's go.
And say that, initially I was like, well, I'd like you guys to come out to my spot. I'll set up a brunch. I'll do it in her favorite colors. I'll do this. I'll do that. And he was honest enough to say to me, look, she's not going to go anywhere with me. So I'm thinking like, oh, Lord, I got to pull out everything, and I got to get to his location. So he gave me the rundown. She's a nurse. And I asked questions so that I can create the perfect situation. And that's kind of why I specialize in it, because you tell me your situation, you pay me, and I basically make magic happen.
No doubt, no doubt.
So I got the details that she was working overnight. So I knew that I would have to get up very early the next morning, even though I was out doing something else. But I'm like, okay, I got this. So I say, look, this is what we're going to do. When she comes in from work in her scrubs, because she's a nurse, I'm going to be there and I'm going to have everything set up and I'm going to wow her. So he's like, whatever you got to do, he's all in.
Yeah, yeah.
So another funny thing was that morning, I know exactly how much time I need to execute what I need to do. But that morning, he didn't see me until like the final hour.
Yeah.
And he was nervous. And I'm like, I got this.
Shook.
I got this. Like, I'll pull up with the beautiful flower arrangement. I have boxes. I have bags. I'm like, look, I just need you to help me carry everything. So I get in. I set up everything. I had to revamp because you know how men are. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, look at my canvas. I need to get this together. So I get everything set up. I start playing the music and then I just start cooking. And the exciting part too for me was when we were waiting for her to pull up. He was trying to gauge how far away she was. And all of that is so exciting for me. I like surprising people. So anyway, we get to the point that she finally walks in. And guys, I'm just be truthful and say this in front of him. I haven't expressed this to him yet.
Go ahead.
But when I say she was like my biggest challenge, I'll say that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that lady was mad. When she came in, she looked at me like, what the hell are you doing in my kitchen? Most women come in, I'm in my chef coat. They know they're being wild. They're like, oh my God, like. And then she looked at him like, what is this? But when she realized, guys, what I was doing and what he had set up for her and the energy that he had put into it, when I tell you she cried, I cried, guys. I had to turn around like, oh my God, okay, I'm dropping tears. It was it was a beautiful moment. But in that moment, I knew, I said, you know what? You a bad mother. You a bad somebody, because I knew I had did it. So I looked at him. I'm like, thumbs up, like, you good. So it was just beautiful. He was happy. You saw the look on his face of like, wow, my wife is in a good place again.
Yeah.
Like, this worked. And she just felt like the queen that she should have felt like. Because when you hire me to come in and wow somebody, whoever you hire me to wow, I go out of my way to cater to them. Yeah. The dishes, the colors of the flowers, everything I bring in is going to be their favorite color and what they like. She's an AKA. So we brought in pinks and greens and down to the napkins and the utensils. So I pay attention to details, and that's what you pay me for.
Yeah.
So she enjoyed herself. I think one of her favorite things was the boudin. I brought that in as an appetizer. We did shrimp and grits. We also did chicken and waffles. We did fresh fruit. What did we do for dessert? Did we do dessert?
The peach cobbler.
And also did beignets too, right?
Yeah.
So, they had a whole spread. They had a lavish buffet for two. And because she was pregnant, I did a juice bar for her. I did cranberry juice, pineapple juice, orange juice, and apple juice. Yeah, she had whatever juice she thought she may have wanted. And of course, I had some nice champagne on deck, but he was being a gentleman. And because she couldn't drink, they didn't pop the bottle. So I suggested that they open it up at a later time, a special occasion, maybe when you have the baby. Yeah. So it was just beautiful because it was a reminder of the passion that I have for what I do. Yes. And it showed how what I do actually works. Yes. And it makes my clients feel like this is what I'm paying for. Like, she's not cheap, but yeah, it's worth it, Yes. So, at the end of the day, I would say it was a beautiful experience for me. Yeah. And I always say one day I wish God sends me a man that wows me like that, just in case anybody looking, hey, I like surprises too.
Let me tell you. I was just in the doghouse. The doghouse.
By the way, how are the eggs?
Oh, they're wonderful.
Wonderful.
I'm about to. When you get to talking again, I'm gonna kill the last three. Did you want one? Did Annie want one? You want
one?
Awesome. Okay.
She's experienced.
I'm gonna kill the next three when we get off into you talking again. But when I say I was in a doghouse, you could be in a doghouse, but the chain was around my neck. And every time I tried to run out the doghouse and make a way back to the house, it just kept pulling me back. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So I
were
was
in there.
yeah, I was in there. I was
Yeah.
on my last leg, so price and everything wasn't. Once I
Even
said
an
to
option.
myself, "Yo, John, it's too late now. You got to come out of this spot. You were just in a dark spot. You got to come out of it." I was like, you know what? Anything you need to do. I didn't even go to sleep that night.
Yeah, I remember you told me you were up all
I was
night.
up the whole night cooking and cleaning and
Yeah.
not cooking. I'm lying. Cleaning and wiping and
Yeah.
moving all my computer and everything away. I just want to make sure that you had all the space that you needed to be able to do what you needed to do.
Right.
Right. So, let's go to you. What's your favorite dish?
To eat or cook?
Both.
It's interesting.
Okay.
Because I mean, I'm a foodie.
Yeah.
Well, I would, if I had to answer it broadly, to eat it would be seafood. I
Yeah.
could eat seafood every day.
Yeah. Is that a New Orleans thing or is it
I
just,
think so. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
every time we
My
go to
auntie, the one that's sitting here that I told you was like a mom to me, she was feeding us fish and grits as kids.
yeah.
And I mean fresh fish because she lived on the levee for some years at one of their houses. And she has a lot of boys. And they would go and get us fresh fish. We were eating fish and grits as kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned something earlier, restaurants. Let's talk about how intricately involved you were in a restaurant and how much it took you away from. Did you feel that it took you away from the individualization that you specialize in, or do you think that it just kind of added? How did the restaurant come about? Your whole journey with starting your own chef thing or whatever.
Katrina happened in 2005.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was divorced from husband number one. And I had 5 young children.
Yeah.
And I was running my nursing service. So
Okay.
when I evacuated, I had my patient with me who was in her 90s in the early stages of Alzheimer's. And I had my 5 kids and my 2 dogs. So when I evacuated, initially I went to Baton Rouge to one of my aunts on my dad's side. And there wasn't really a welcome mat because I had my patient with me. And, she felt like my patient should have been with her family. And she felt like I had 5 kids and I should not have had my patient with me. The patient that I had with me was somebody that I care for on a daily basis, and her family left her behind. So I wasn't.
When they evacuated?
Yes.
Okay.
So I wasn't going to leave her behind because I saw her every day, and I brought her over to my townhouse. So when I made the decision to leave, she had to come with me. So because my aunt wasn't very receptive to me having her, I basically left Baton Rouge. I spoke with a relative that told me I can come to Houston.
Okay.
But when I got to Houston, they were nowhere to be found. They didn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
So I was kind of stuck out because by then I was basically on my way to being flat broke. Because when I left New Orleans, I had $300. So by the time, after a few days staying in a motel here in Houston, I was broke and I realized Katrina was Katrina. Initially, I thought, okay, this is another hurricane. We're going to go back home. But at some point, I realized Katrina was Katrina and the interstates were closed and it wasn't going back home. So I went to a shelter called the Star of Hope. And all of these stories can actually probably be found if you Google it, because the Houston Chronicle followed my story for the first few years that I was here.
No doubt.
Because they were so impressed that I was a mother with 5 kids. I had a nursing service. I opened the restaurant quick and I made my way. But anyway, back to the story. I ended up at the Star of Hope shelter. Went there. They had spaghettis and meat sauce that day. I fed the kids, fed my patient, bathed them, and I kind of sat and wondered what I was going to do. So a lady showed up and said she was there to adopt a family. So initially I'm thinking like, I'm not going with a stranger, but on the other hand, I'm like, I'm homeless. I've lost everything. Where else am I going? So I go with the lady. She lived off of Calvacade in Houston.
No doubt. That's like Fifth Ward, Cashmere Gardens area. So
we get to her house and I see that her house was wired with extension cords everywhere. Like her electricity was rigged almost. So I'm like, oh my God. So of course I'm afraid to go to sleep because I honestly thought her house was gonna catch on fire. Seriously.
It's not funny, but
Yeah, but that was the situation.
I
So I go and I put the kids to bed. I put my patient to bed, and I stay up all night because I'm like, I gotta make sure everybody's okay.
No doubt.
So prior to that, she had introduced us to her neighbors because during that time, people here in Houston, and I'm sure probably other places, they were treating us like we were items at a museum.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Hey, we got one. We got them. They're from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Introducing us to everybody. So, that was what it was. It was either that or they were calling us refugees, one of the two.
Yeah.
So, saying that to say we met the neighbors. So the next morning, one of the Spanish ladies, she's knocking on the door and she's like, it's you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you're on the front page of the paper. And I look at the Houston Chronicle paper and it's a picture of me with my head hung down over my steering wheel in my van with my dog and my kids. And I don't know if the patient was showing or not, but it said something about a deeper despair. And I remember getting so angry because the first thing that I could think about, and I skipped that whole part, I'm going to have to reverse.
Go ahead. We got
the
time.
The first thing I could think about was they caught me at my lowest moment. And they put me on the front page of the paper. So I'm like pissed.
Mm-hmm.
But to reverse, before I went to the Star of Hope shelter, when I went to the Astrodome first.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw on the news that people were going to the Astrodome.
Mm-hmm.
And they were letting people from New Orleans come there. So when I went there, the police told me to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what do you mean leave? I've spent all my money here. I'm broke. I have nowhere to go. I'm from New Orleans. They said that you had to be on the yellow school buses coming in from New Orleans to come into the Astrodome.
Mm-hmm.
So at that moment, I lost it. I always pride myself on trying to remain professional and carry myself a certain way, speak a certain way, and all of that. But in that moment, I lost all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went off.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so you mean to tell me I've spent all my money in Houston and I didn't say it this nice? I said, but I can't go on the Astrodome because I obeyed the mayor and I left in my own transportation, so I can't go in. So basically, they were like, no. And that's when I saw all the news reporters coming towards me and stuff like that. And I remember my oldest daughter said, this is not a time for a story. My mom is crying. Somebody from New Orleans came to try to give my kids food. And the way I raised them is that you can't accept anything from strangers.
Yeah.
And I remember one of them said, we can't take it. And I remember the lady from New Orleans, and I knew she was from New Orleans when I heard her speak. She said, baby, you can have it. Your mama not going to fuss at you now. Y'all could take it. She gave them a lot of snacks. So that's when we were directed to the shelter, the Star of Hope, and then back to that other part I already said. But I had forgot that whole spiel. But anyway, that morning, she came over there with the newspaper. We were on the front page of the paper. About an hour after that, by this time, our phones were working again.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a call from somebody to say, hey, I'm your cousin. My name is Rasha. I had never met her before. Nureka's odd name. My name is very odd. So apparently, one of those cameras that came was CNN as well. Mm-hmm. So my Aunt Mary in Washington,
D.C. or the state?
D.C.
Okay.
Had contacted my cousin who I didn't know and said, that's your cousin, find her. So I don't know how she got my number or whatever. But anyway, she came. She's like, I'm your cousin Rasha. Where are you? I'm coming for you. So she came for me. I was glad because she had a nice luxury apartment on Westheimer and I didn't feel like the house was going to catch on fire. I was like, yay. We going somewhere good.
Yeah.
So we get to her house and after a few days, she took me to all the FEMA lines and I got a FEMA apartment. But I was blessed because I didn't know anything about Houston. I had been in Houston maybe a year sometime back with my first husband. We moved to Houston for about a year. Mm-hmm. But I stayed inside all the time. I didn't really know anything about the city. Said that to say I was blessed because I ended up on the north side. Mm-hmm. When a lot of New Orleanians ended up on the south side in some rough neighborhoods. But I ended up in a pretty decent area in a brand new apartment that they had just built. So I was like 5 minutes from the airport. So
you were like in Humble somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I was good. I was like right before Humble. I was on Vickery in the Beltway. Mm-hmm. Northland Woods was the name of the apartment. Excuse me. So that's where we ended up. We landed there, and because of the newspaper, that's why I know and believe that everything always works for my good. Because even though I was upset that they caught me at my lowest moment, that took me somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So because in the paper they talked about the fact that I had a 90-something-year-old patient with me, along with my 5 kids and my 2 dogs, I had this lady that contacted the newspaper, and the newspaper reporters, one of them contacted me, and I became friends with her. We're friends to this day, Sharon Steinman. We even took a trip to New Orleans together. That's just a long story, but we became good friends, you know.
Yeah.
But she called me and she said, there's somebody contacted the newspaper, and they said, if you could evacuate in the midst of Katrina with somebody with Alzheimer's, with 5 babies and 2 dogs, we want you to come take care of our daughter. So this lady was a prominent person here in Houston that lived in Champions Estate.
That's off 1960.
Yeah, and 249.
Yeah.
Her daughter had cerebral palsy. She said, if you have the heart to do that, we want you to take care of Lindsay. Beautiful home, elevator in the house, all that. So I took care of Lindsay for about 2 years, and they allowed me to take Lindsay to New Orleans. I took her on a trip. We were really close. So the money that I made transferring my nursing service here and taking care of Lindsay, I used to open my first restaurant here in Houston. So I had my restaurant and my nursing service going at the same time.
No doubt.
I had my sister working at my restaurant, running my restaurant. My first restaurant I opened was inside of the Trading Fair 4 flea market on Little York. 630 West Little York was the first restaurant. And it was Nureka Taste of New Orleans.
Okay.
Was the name of it. I stayed there a year because after being there a year, I realized that having a restaurant inside of a flea market, I got people that had flea market mentality that wanted to come in there and talk me down on my prices. They wanted $5 worth of gumbo and things I had never heard of. So I branched off to the Humble area where I met most of my clients I still have to this day. And I opened Nureka's Taste of New Orleans #1. My aunt came, my uncle came. I joined the Chamber of Commerce in Houston, in Humble. And I opened Nureka's Taste of New Orleans #1, and I stayed in that building for 4 years. By this time I had married husband #2 and endured some things during the course of the marriage that affected my business.
Yeah.
The last restaurant I opened was down the street from that one, Nureka's Gumbo and Grits, my newest concept, which I love. Y'all got to try the Gumbo and Grits.
Yeah.
Gumbo and grits together is like awesome.
Yeah.
It's like heaven in your mouth. and this is the crazy thing about it. I didn't try gumbo and grits until the restaurant was open for about 2 weeks because I had never had time to try it. I just knew it tastes good together and it would work, but I hadn't tried the two together until after I was open.
Yeah.
But that was the last restaurant, and I closed it with the issues with the marriage. And the fire marshals came in, and I had some coding issues, some building issues, and I didn't own the property. So the best move for me at that time was to close.
Yeah.
So that's why I closed that third restaurant, and I'll be opening the new one before this year is out. But that third restaurant was very successful. I made a lot of money within that 1 month that I was in that building. Over $20,000 profit in less than a month. So I know I've made my name, and I'll do well.
So before we continue on in the conversation, what song's on your mind right now?
Let us see pieces of me.
Let us see pieces of me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm gonna go with off the Nipsey Hussle album, Victory Lap. I'm gonna go with Victory Lap. For you. Yeah. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because I hear independency, survivor, and I hear taking your lap around all the misery that came about, the hurricane and everything, and finally getting that victory lap where you start to elevate and you start to get recognized as this person that's finally finished first in your race. So how much of the despair, how much of the sorrow, how much of the grit that you use to elevate yourself out of that time period do you say goes into your cooking?
All of it.
Okay.
But cooking is so therapeutic for me.
Okay.
It's like I'm blessed. I get paid well to do what I love to do.
No doubt.
And I'm such a beast at it. And I say beast because I can think of no other word, because I do things like you saw me do it. I do things within minutes that takes people a day or two to do.
Listen,
I mean,
the way you was whipping that egg and I don't know. I was over here like
I saw you looking
I'm telling you, man.
I know you was worried. You didn't think everything was gonna be ready.
Listen, I'm telling you, man.
You
When
doubted
I
me.
looked at my watch, because I'm not an irritable person, and as an optimistic, I don't ever get to the point where I'm too high, too low.
Mm-hmm.
But when that sun started to come up, I looked outside the window. I was sitting on the couch thinking about, when is she gonna pull up, man? When is she gonna call me, man? Make sure I don't want to fall asleep because I don't want to miss this phone call. But I'm looking, I see the sun come up, so I get up and I start to pace. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, man, yo, come on, like what time? When is she gonna get here? I need this. I know she's getting off.
Each time we talk, I was like so cool and calm. And in
I
your
know,
mind, you're like,
I know
what?
she's getting off soon. When is she getting here? And I start to pace, and then that phone call coming. I might have took the stairs downstairs because I was just like, man, you need to get in here and start to whip. But then you got in there and you just start to make things pop. I was like, damn, like
She got it.
man. I'm telling you, man, I greatly appreciate you for just dropping everything that you had to do, and coming to help me get out that doghouse, man. Because I'm telling you, man, I don't ever want to be in that place again. My wife was like, you know what? I was like, did you like it when you left? And she was like, yes, it was thoughtful. And I said, God damn, thank you, thank you.
Woosah, right?
Yes.
That's like today. I had a very, very busy day. But my aunt is one of my biggest cheerleaders, so she don't doubt me.
Yeah.
But she even gave me my props. She was like, Ricky, you had it under control. Because I cooked a pot of gumbo in the midst of running errands, visiting a daughter in the hospital and doing 1,000,001 other things. I had to meet with clients, collect payments, and do other things. But at the end of the day, everything was on point.
Yeah.
It's like, I got it under control. So she kept saying, Rika, when you going to get ready? When you going to do this? I said, I got it.
Yeah.
I kept telling her 5 minutes. She said, you said 5 minutes 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it all comes together.
Yeah.
And I got it, because it's what I do.
So let's paint a scenario right quick. So I'm in a 1 month relationship with my girlfriend, right? And this is just an example. And I call you to, I guess, early off in the stage of our relationship, woo her. What are you going to suggest that I do?
First of all, I'm going to ask you, what's her favorite color?
Okay.
What's her favorite meal?
Okay.
Is there anything that she doesn't eat, or is there anything that she's allergic to?
Okay.
And then I might ask you your budget.
Okay.
Because 1 month in, you may not want to spend that much. So once I decide if you have a beer or a champagne budget, then I'll tell you what I can do.
So let me say I have a beer budget. What's that looking like?
It's looking like I'm gonna tell you need to up that budget if you want celebrity chef Nureka to come.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna tell you what I can do on the low end to the high end.
So take me to the low end.
The low end, you might could get me to come out for about $250.
Okay.
Depending on how far you are from me.
Yeah.
And that will get you maybe a salad, a 3-course meal, and maybe a dessert.
And you know what? I think that would do it for the first,
Yeah, because some people don't want to spend that much.
Yeah, I think that would do it.
You're in a different situation. It's your wife.
Yeah.
She's pregnant.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
In the doghouse. So like you willing to, pay the big bucks.
And listen, for $150 more, whatever it was that I paid, was 5, 6, whatever it was that I paid, it was well worth it. I don't think
I'm happy that you feel that way.
It was well worth it. Let me tell you.
I always want my clients to feel like it was worth it.
Let me tell you this. I'm the type of person, man, that when I feel that somebody has my genuine interest involved, it's no limits that I don't go for that person.
Yeah. Right.
And so I say that to say this on this podcast. What I like to do is I like to see where the creative and I have a similar path that we're going, right? And so I know that for whatever I can do to help you to prosper, to generate business, I'm all for. Because you kind of no, I'm serious. You kind of just like people. I don't think that people understand what the doghouse is. I'm just gonna keep going back to it because it was just Normally, my wife is the type like if I make her mad, I'm gonna feel it for a while, and she's always better at that type of sentiment than I am being able to navigate that sentiment. You know what I'm saying? So it was dark in the apartment. It was one of those things where you leave the crib and you just like, hey, I'm about to go. And it was one of those things where it was like, all right. And then you get out the house and you look at your phone like, all right, so she gonna text me now. Oh, she ain't texting me now. I text her and then it just be like, okay, all right. So I was like, ooh, I hollered at my man. I was like, it ain't looking good, man. He was like, what you gonna do? I was like, I don't know. And I kept trying to say, well, nah, that ain't right, till I just let go and said, okay, I got to do what I got to do. Tell me what I need to do. Because I was just lost.
I'm telling you, Sakara's like, she said, you need to add another feature that you save relationships. Because, I mean, I've done this for a lot of people.
That's the same thing you expressed to me when you got there.
You know, it's like, I'm that girl. I'm that go-to. Like, okay, you got problems in your relationship. I got you. I'm about to make her love you again.
You know, shit.
I'm about to make her feel like she's all that.
I got a kiss in it. You know what I'm saying? I got a kiss in it.
Hello.
You know what I'm saying? I got a kiss in it. So I knew I was back on the same boat. Today is April the 30th, 2019. And we got 245 more days left in 2019. What do you hope to accomplish in those 245 days?
What I will accomplish is I will open my next restaurant.
Okay.
I will get more clients.
Okay.
I will get more clients with my meal prep, which is a new feature that I am doing.
Okay.
And I will continue to grow and continue to be great and continue to get my name out there and continue to become known in the Houston area.
Okay.
I have a brunch coming up in Louisiana on May the 25th that I'm very excited about. We have a vendor that's going to be doing a sipping and painting. So I'm tapping into other things as well and being innovative and making my brunches interesting and finding my niche.
Okay.
Because my brunches are very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said meal prepping. How do you think that stifles or subdues your creativity when it comes to preparing meals?
No way. The client that I delivered to today has already texted me. Awesome, amazing, fantastic. That's just on two things. My aunt being here, she's into healthy cooking and preparing different things, and she gave me some pointers this morning.
Yeah.
And what I delivered was very colorful, vibrant, very tasty, and delicious. Because I had incorporated smoothies for her a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
She's been a client for a while. She pays by the month. And she texted me one day and she's like, this tastes real shitty. She said, but I'm going to drink it because she trusts what I say.
Yeah.
But today it tastes amazing. It's good. It's fantastic. So I was happy. So I am growing daily and creating new things and creating new recipes to help people cleanse their bodies and be healthy and lose the inches.
Yeah.
She has a vacation coming up soon with her husband. So she's on crunch time. So that's why we went to like all liquids, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm excited about it. So it doesn't hurt because I mean I get paid well for what I do.
Yeah.
No matter what I'm doing. And I'm happy to help people achieve their goals.
Yeah. For sure. So listen, I know that, previously on my podcast, I had one of my frat brothers. He was on episode 4. He said that he wasn't a chef because he didn't go to school. You mentioned that you went to school. What type of training do you get in that situation of chef school? What type of training do you get?
So official chef school, I haven't been to. I've had some chef classes within my high school courses.
Okay.
I accredit my culinary skills to my family.
Okay.
My grandmother being around my aunt. My aunt was the only one in the family that was into Oriental food and healthy food. Really, I mean, now lately my mom has gotten more healthy with her cooking, but I'm talking about my childhood. As far as like childhood, I was exposed to culinary geniuses within my family. My grandmother, my mom, my aunt, and they, I would say they had no problem letting us experiment in the kitchen and teaching us things. And then getting married young, I learned to do my own thing in the kitchen, and I enjoyed cooking. So I learned as I went. So I accredit my skills to my upbringing.
Okay.
And being from New Orleans and living and experiencing the New Orleans culture and the New Orleans way of life.
Let me ask you an unbiased question. I'm traveling down I-10 East on the way to New Orleans. Okay. and I hit you up. I'm like, yo, Nureka, I'm on the way to the boot. I'm on the way to New Orleans. What place are you going to tell me to go to first if it's not your spot?
Well, while you're on the road, I like Harlequins in Lake Charles.
Okay.
I know the chef there. I like Billy's Boudin in Scott, Louisiana. A lot of people like Don's. I prefer Billy's. But once you actually get to the city, I would tell you not to go in the French quarters. I would tell you have to go into the neighborhoods.
Okay.
Cajun seafood is a staple. There's Willa Mae's Scotch House for fried chicken. Yeah. There's Jean's Po' Boys, you know, if you're not watching calories. There is Cafe Du Monde in the French quarters that I would recommend, because I wouldn't recommend the Cafe Du Monde in the mall. I wouldn't. But you gotta get down into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's another place I was trying to think of. I think it's called Sammy's or something like that on Elysian Fields. Pretty good. But I would say you got to get in the neighborhoods. Don't go to the quarters. Get in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, even some of the corner stores, believe it or not. There's a corner store on Banks and Broad that I go to every time I'm there.
Yeah.
And get stuff from. So it just depends on, you know, what I'm doing at the time. Because if I'm watching my calories, certain places I won't go to. Like I won't go to Jean's because that's bread, you know.
Yeah.
But if I'm just being loose in my city, like most of the time I am, and I'll work it off, I'll deal with it later, I'm going to make sure I hit all the spots in the neighborhoods.
Do you think as a chef and as somebody who is getting paid top dollar to do what you do you think that you have surpassed your mother, your aunt, your grandmother in the kitchen?
With my auntie sitting right across from me, right?
Do you think you surpassed her?
Oh, let me answer this. Wow. Okay.
What's next? What's going down?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer this like they would want me to answer this. First of all, my mom would tell you that she beat me in a gumbo cook-off that I hosted at my restaurant.
Okay.
Which I didn't have a problem with because you're one of my teachers. So that was cool. She got first place, I got second place. My aunt, there's things that she does that I'm not into yet. I'm still pulling from her from the healthy side. I'm still trying to learn how to do Mexican and Oriental foods, which I've mastered some Mexican foods because I had a client that requested Mexican cuisine. So what I did was I took a field trip to a Mexican restaurant. I ordered what they requested from me. And then I asked for the chef to come out and have a consultation with me. And that night I wowed that client. Mm-hmm. So I'm still learning. I mean, they're older than me. They've been doing it longer than me. So of course, my aunt has a company. And my mom does different little things from time to time, but my grandmother never really took her expertise to the level of making money from it. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that I've surpassed them. I would just say I'm in a different lane with it. Okay. I'm doing different things, but I could never outdo them as far as knowledge because they've been doing it longer than me. Yeah. You know, but I'm in a different lane. I'm doing different things, and you know, I'm still young and I got a long ways to go. Yeah.
Eddie said good answer.
Good answer.
Are your spices secret? The stuff that you season your food with, do you keep
some
those?
Of them.
Okay.
Some of them. And I was speaking with someone about because at my other restaurants, my children were primarily my staff. Okay. I've had other staff, but primarily it was the children. But the children they're now women doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. So when I open the next restaurant, I'm going to have a full, probably outside staff. So I was discussing that with someone just recently here. And my goal is to have the things that I use packaged to where no one knows my recipes. Mm-hmm. Because I do have some things that are family secrets. And like my pecan candy recipe, it's my grandmother's recipe. Mm. So yeah, I mean, and I'm working on a cookbook as well. Okay. But, and I mean, I won't share everything there either, but,
some of them are secrets.
Yeah, some things are, some things I'm not going to release as to how I do it because it's my thing. Okay. It's my brand. It's mine.
Do you have, any one of your daughters that
knows?
That follow in your footsteps in culinary aspects?
I wouldn't say that. I have two that are married that cook from time to time, but I don't think any of them are interested in doing what I do per se.
Okay.
But they all kind of know my recipes because they've helped so much.
Okay.
They kind of know what I do.
Okay. So listen, on the What's Next podcast, the podcast is all about bringing creatives out. Okay. And when I bring these creatives out, I want to ask them about your journey. And your journey thus far for me has been fascinating.
Oh, thank
up
you.
until today, right? So I pose this question, and I have two things to say before we wrap this episode up. I pose this question: what's next for Chef Nureka?
What's next is I complete the cookbook and I open the next restaurant, which will be Nureka's Gumbo and Grits #1. I'm actively looking for a spot, either in the Heights or the Humble area.
Okay.
I have a real estate agent actively looking. That would be what's immediately next. But also what's next is just learning new ways to make customers happy and new ways to get new clients and just continue to provide the best taste of New Orleans I can to the Houston area.
Okay. What I like to do on the podcast is I like to give out this black SVI t-shirt exclusively for those creatives that come on the podcast. It's just a signal of my company that you were on here. And anytime I see you in it, I know that you did the podcast. Nobody else in the city of Houston, in the state of Texas, has that black SVI t-shirt. And I wanted to give that out to you, man. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Houston, Texas, man. That's our time. Peace and blessings.
Yo, it feel like 95. Sachi on my body. Biggie, jigger, puffy. All that ballin' is a hobby. And I'm wildin' in my wallies. Them valleys, no Pilates. More way get you more wet. Nah, that's the Spumante. My crystal ball, I see crystal. I crystal y'all with that. I saw the sign like Ace of Spades. That Ace of Spades get cracked me like cheers to the money guys. The Willie niggas who buy them bottles. And then they spill these liquors. Yo, salute my dude. I see you, dawg. 5 bottles, 1 dick. Why I need 2 bras? I know I'm out of line, but love is shower time. You know it rose rain when your cloud is 9. Get off that high ass hussy. This a private party. Been on my dick too long. Your breath on private party. You gon' be nice and naughty. These walls on priceless Audi. This the upper crust. Fuck is up. Over and done. Overdose. Yes, we did it again. Sippin' with no remorse. We gon' do it again, and we gon' do it again.
What we doing again?